Well, good evening, everybody. This is the Denver Bronco Roundup, brought to you by Rocky Mountain Sports Network. Man, what a fantastic night. It's a Tuesday night. It's a DVR night, man. I got all my good friends here on the screen. If you're not, I guess, watching, only listening, they're here with me. They're ready to go, man. And we got the posse all queued up, man. The live chat going on. Can't wait to get this show started, man. Feels like it's been too long. And speaking of being too long, let's say hello to Albert Mile High, the one, the only Mile High Dutchie. Albert, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. So it's a good day to be on this podcast again, because we have some good news or some information on quarterbacks. And I think that's going to be a fantastic show again. So it is always a good day to be on the Rocky Mountain Sports Network.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely, man. Appreciate everybody jumping in, being part of the show, man. I see the posse just absolutely blowing up the chat. So appreciate you guys. Got to say hello to my other good co-host, my trusty sidekick on Fridays, every Fridays. If you're not out there liking, sharing, subscribing, making sure that you're catching all these DVR podcasts, you're missing out every Tuesday, every Friday. Mr. Friday right down below. Trevor Salzman, how are we doing, sir?
Doing great, Keith. I can't wait to be talking quarterbacks, and I think that's the hot topic of discussion nowadays. But today we also got some news on a couple edge rushers that Denver is bringing in for top 30 visits. So that's also really interesting. Maybe it may or may not point Denver into in what direction they may be thinking at pick 12 if they don't take a quarterback. So keep an open mind, because you never know what the Denver Broncos are going to do.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. It's going to be, like I said, I think it's going to be one of the wildest drafts we've had in quite a while. I'm still wondering if we're going to get anything pre-draft trade in the top 10. I don't know if that's going to be a possibility. I think once that clock hits, once those picks start coming off the board, man, there's going to be movement. There's going to be busy on the phones. I mean, I think it's going to be a wild, wild ride. Take that wild ride with us on the K&K Sports Show too, guys. Man, we're going to have some amazing draft coverage for your entire draft, man. So check us out. Denver Bronco Roundup, Rocky Mountain Sports Network, K&K Sports Show. Man, we're going to have it all queued up for you. Can't wait. I didn't realize too, man, all of a sudden we've got a contest. Clayton's coming in saying, first one in, baby. Well, I appreciate it, Clayton, very much. I appreciate everybody that's jumping in here. We got Michael Ronquillo coming in saying, good evening, Keith, Albert, Trevor, big orange and blue hearts, clapping it up. Appreciate you so much. Pearl's coming in and saying hello. Hello, Pearl. How you doing? Michelle Knopper coming in. Knoppers. Get it all out there. Michelle Knoppers. Evening, gents, and good evening. Great support. If you guys don't know, Michelle put together a fantastic present for Albert. You can see part of it right now. Yeah, check out that background. Check out what he's doing. That's not virtual, guys. That's why he's panning it all over the place. That's a physical background that's been done up well by Michelle. Thank you, Michelle. Great support of the show from our spouses sometimes too. All right, who else? We got Joy coming in here saying, "Yay, it is." Ooh, yay, it is. I'm not really sure what ooh, yay, it is, but it's a fantastic night. I said Joy. I'm sorry. Jay Anderson. I need to get the spectacles all taken care of. Maybe a new prescription. So, guys, we're going to be talking a lot about the Broncos and the possibilities. You know, I look back to when Sean Payton's been in front of microphones, and it's not very often. You don't get very much information these days out of Dove Valley. So you got to take what you can get. And the last time I heard Sean Payton, he was asked about trading up in this draft, and he bit back pretty dang quick. He said, hey, we trading up is absolutely a possibility, regardless of what you're saying out there. Ian Rappaport. Well, regardless of what you're saying, we can trade up. And to that end, guys, I don't think we've ever talked about all these quarterbacks that sit atop, the very top of the board. So I think it's worth mentioning. It's worth mentioning and worth having a conversation about. So why not? Let's just kick it off, guys. You never know what's going to happen. I want to get your guys' thoughts, opinions, ideas on Mr. Caleb Williams, the presumptive number one pick in the draft. Albert, let's start with you. What do you think about Caleb Williams, USC product? Down there was, by far and away is now the so-called claimed number one pick in this draft. Generational talent has been thrown around as well as far as a description. What are your thoughts on one Caleb Williams, sir?
So here's my thing. It could be going complete opposite. JJ McCarthy could go first because how he presented. So I think it is going to be a battle between 3 or 4 quarterbacks, and Caleb Williams is one of them. Which team does he fit the best? And therein lies it. Who sees the most in him? Is it going to be the Bears? Is it going to be the Cardinals of number 2? I'm not quite sure, but
Commanders.
Oh, Commanders. So we don't know. Caleb Williams, is he indeed a generational quarterback? We don't know. But all the prospects says he is. But they said something about Justin Fields too, and others. And so we never know what it is going to be. It's going to be very exciting. I think the 3 or 4 quarterbacks could go with the first 8 picks.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's going to be wild. It's going to be wild. And you're right. We don't know, what the ceiling is. Everyone says, hey, this guy has a high ceiling. This guy has a low ceiling. You don't know what the ceiling is until they hit the NFL, until they get on with the team. And to your point, Bryce Young had one of the worst offensive lines in front of him, and he paid for it dearly. He certainly wasn't able to live up to the expectations of the number 1 overall pick. So it depends on where you go as well. We're going to have a lot of debate for a long time, about these quarterbacks. A lot of people are comparing it to that 83 draft when you're seeing, Dan Marino, Jim Kelly, John Elway come off the board. And, hey, people would want to redraft that for years, some of these drafts. We might see that with this one as well. I know he may not be number 1 in Mile High Dutchie's mind necessarily, but Trevor, what are your thoughts on Caleb Williams as a product in the NFL, and how would he fit the Denver Broncos?
Yeah, I mean, I think to me, Caleb Williams is the number 1 guy in this class, number 1 quarterback in this class, I should say. The reason I say that is because his pocket awareness is elite, and it's something we have not seen in a quarterback prospect since Patrick Mahomes. He does have those intangibles about him. Now, there's definitely concern about him, like there is with every player. No prospect is quarterback, or no is perfect. I don't know why I say quarterback there. Sorry, guys.
Sorry.
But I mean, just his awareness. I think his elite arm talent's there. Some of the stuff that he does, we just don't see that out of a lot of different quarterbacks. So I do think that he has the makings to become a generational type player. But right now, I'm not ready to say he's a generational prospect. There's a difference between a prospect and a player in the NFL. We got to see how he turns out in the NFL. But there's a lot to like about Caleb Williams and what he has compared to Drake May, Jane Daniel, JJ McCarthy. He knows where he's at in the pocket. If he's going to go make a move outside the pocket and there's a defender behind him, he will make a move and get outside the pocket without getting sacked most of the time. So it's just he just has those abilities to move, and he knows where he's at in the pocket. He keeps his eyes down the field. I really like that about him. And he's got, on top of that, he's got elite arm strength to throw wherever he wants. So to me, I think Caleb Williams is the best quarterback in this class. But honestly, all these quarterbacks have different traits about
Yeah.
them that you may like over one. So everybody's going to have their different opinions on who they think the best quarterback is prospect is in this class. But Caleb Williams definitely is now your everyday quarterback prospect per se.
Absolutely, man. Everyone's going to have a different opinion, but my opinion has to go first to the posse. And I got to say hello to Mr. Kenny Kirkpatrick, saying good evening to the Three Musketeers and everyone in the posse. Good evening to this guy, Mr. Kenny Kirkpatrick, because he's a birthday boy, everybody. Happy birthday to Mr. Kenny Kirkpatrick. Getting younger every single year, man. I tell you what, he knows what to do and how to do it. Check them out over on the K&K Sports Show, our cousins on the East Coast. We appreciate those guys so much, and we definitely appreciate Kenny. He comes on the show. He does a little co-hosting. Heck, sometimes he's the main host as we did our Around the Horseshoe. Kenny, you're much appreciated. We love you, and happy birthday, my friend. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
By the way, Keith,
yes.
there's Clayton sent stars as well, so just want to give Clayton a shout out.
Oh, nicely done. I appreciate it. I'm trying to keep up on like about 16 different things, and one of the things that's really tough, guys, is Facebook stars. So I'm relying on good friends and co-hosts like Trevor letting me know. Thank you, Clayton. I saw your comments coming in earlier, and I was going to throw those up regardless if there was any stars, because this is the one I saw. This one right here saying, absolutely love your show, guys. Keep up the great work. Denver Broncos for life, baby. And Clayton, man, I appreciate it. I appreciate the stars. I appreciate the kind words, man. And wow, you guys, I can't express enough. I'll talk about it here in just a little bit, but I can't express enough how much the support means to me and the rest of the DBR crew and everyone over at RMSN. So, my little opinion on Caleb Williams. Great talent. Like you said, pocket awareness is amazing. He has that ability to elude talent within the pocket and just, like as you said, keep his eyes down the field. He doesn't have to sprint outside the pocket in order to do it either. He has this unique ability to be able to just elude guys. And great arm talent. Fantastic arm talent. So if I'm going to go ahead and Trevor gave us all the reasons of why. I gotta bring him maybe down a peg or two somehow, right? This is how I would do it. One thing that I'm really concerned about is, especially last year, the talent level he went up against and the wins in which he got it. He had the majority of his touchdowns in his first 5 games against teams that didn't end up being ranked at the end of the year. He really struggled against ranked teams. The other thing that I'd be a little bit concerned about, especially if we're talking about Caleb Williams to the Denver Broncos. Sean Payton's a hard coach. Sean Payton comes from the Bill Parcells type of mindset. And the one thing I'm a little bit concerned about is USC, as my father used to call it, University of Spoiled Children. These guys do not have it and nearly as tough as even like a JJ McCarthy has it with a Harbaugh. JJ McCarthy with Harbaugh, yelling at him every day in practice. It's not what Caleb Williams has been used to. Could he handle being in that situation with Sean Payton day in and day out? That's another concern I'd have. But guys, I'm not going to beat around the bush. This guy is projected to be one of the better ones we've seen. I think I like the projection of maybe the best since Andrew Luck. That seems about right. I like I saw Graham that came in just a little bit ago. I think it was Graham. Oh no, it was Kenny. Kenny Kirkpatrick at the K&K. He says, I think Caleb Williams will be good, but Trevor Lawrence good. Not great in my opinion. So I think that might be a possible comp as well. It just depends on how it all transfers. Nonetheless, should be a demand right at the very top of the draft board, whether it be the Chicago Bears or someone else wanting to get into that position. But that brings us maybe into, and we're going to start getting into murky waters. Albert, don't be mad if I try to rank these guys out. But the presumed number 2 for most of this offseason, let's talk about Mr. Drake May. Trevor, Drake May, like I said, been sitting there in that number 2 position for a lot of people. it's funny as we go through this offseason, you see people getting dragged down and dragged down and dragged down. They tried it with Caleb Williams. They've tried it with Drake May. So far, these guys have stayed near the top of the board. It hasn't affected them. But what are your thoughts on Drake May?
I think he's got a high ceiling, and again, we just talked about, oh well, we don't know where his high ceiling's at. Well, you can see it in his talent, where he's out on the field. He has the arm talent, elite arm talent, just like Caleb Williams. He's a guy that didn't have a lot to work with at North Carolina this past season, but the previous year before that, analytically, he was one of the best graded out quarterbacks in 2022, and he hasn't had like any elite wide receivers. That's one of my knocks on Jane Daniels, and not to, is he's has three, great wide receivers in this class are projected to go high. Where's Drake May's, wide receiver that's supposed to be projected to go high? Drake May he has all the size in the world, and I think all the upside in the world to be a great elite quarterback. I think he has upside of Justin Herbert. I've said that for a little while now. For me,
Great
I think
comp.
what Drake May would be, how does he process? How does he process information? Where is he at with that? And Sean Payton says that again and again and again, how he's got his process. That's the only question mark with me with Drake May, but he comes from a football family. His dad used to play as well. So I don't question his love for the game at all. And I think this guy is ready to compete. And I think that he has a ton of talent. I would like to see him make short, intermediate throws instead of always throwing deep balls all the time. I would like to see that about him. But I think he's just his ability to step up in the pocket also really catches my eye. You just don't see that out of any college quarterback. A guy that's has great pocket awareness and is able to step up in the pocket and make those throws while also taking off and be a real threat. At running the ball and getting first downs. And so I just really like what Drake May is able to do as far as his tools. Just where's he at mentally with the game, and it has caught up with everybody else. And so I think it'll be a process for Drake May coming in, and he may have to sit a little bit, but yeah, I think the upside's there. I think a team like him, a perfect team for him would be like a Minnesota, where he could sit behind maybe a Darnold for a year if he needed to.
Already sitting our quarterback right at the top of the board. All right, Trevor, I understand, man. Development. Make sure you don't throw these guys to the fire, especially, again, these guys, unfortunately, are, going to some of the worst teams. Let's face it, you're at the top. You're one of the worst teams. Even though Chicago got lucky in getting this pick, I wouldn't necessarily call them a great team that happens to be picking at the very top. Albert, Drake May, man. A lot of people have been talking about Drake May. A lot of people have, I think, in Broncos country originally when we first started getting towards the offseason, we're in love with Drake May, but kind of fell out of touch with him as he was kind of, almost out of touch or out of reach for the Denver Broncos and where he's being projected. What do you think about Drake May?
I think Drake May might be even a more complete player than Drake of Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams has a lot of issues still, fumble issues. Sometimes he's very wild with the balls, and I think Caleb Williams is a little bit more secure that way. So he might, for me, Drake May might be the number one QB in this draft. So yeah, I can see Drake May going to the Broncos because Sean Payton doesn't love a quarterback like Drake May, a pocket passer that can step up, good arm strength, good decision making, and I think he might already a little bit more complete than Caleb Williams.
Very good. That's kind of funny when you take out the intangibles that a Caleb Williams have. You almost get a more focused quarterback or focused player, and it kind of looks like Drake May at that point, because you're right. When you look at the arm strength, yeah, they both have great arm strength. The ability to drive the ball down the field, the ability to keep their eyes down the field. But now when you talk about some of the escapability that Caleb Williams has, maybe that doesn't completely translate over to a 6'4" guy like Drake May, because he's 6'4", right? Great runner and has great straight line speed and can certainly get down the field and make you pay, but not in the same way that you would expect a Caleb Williams that can really scramble and hurt you bad with his feet. So I love Drake May. I would love the opportunity of getting a Drake May. And honestly, I don't know if I'm gonna have to scroll through the comments here in a second. I actually want to get to one question first. But our good friend Kurt Valente has I think rubbed off on me quite a bit. Our good friend Kurt Valente of the K&K Sports Show. Maybe it was it's been a while, maybe 24, 36 hours, just kind of contemplating a lot of different things. And one of the things that I kind of ran across was opportunity does not come to you. Opportunity is something that you have to seize, right? If you sit there and you wait for opportunity to come to you, good luck. Opportunity doesn't just come to you and fall in your lap all that often. Opportunity, sometimes you have to go out, you have to make it happen, you have to create it yourself. And that being said, that's why we're talking about top picks in the draft, guys. Kurt's rubbed off on me. I think if you have that opportunity, sometimes you have to seize the opportunity. And if that means moving up to number 2 or number 4, we'll get to some of the comments about moving up to number 4 here in a little bit as well. But man, maybe you should do it. Maybe you should do it because sometimes you got to make the opportunity and not just wait for it to fall in your lap. Last time Sean Payton was waiting for it to fall in his lap, he was one pick away from getting Patrick Mahomes. Sometimes you got to seize the opportunity. So I got a good question coming in from Graham over on YouTube, and appreciate the support on all platforms, including YouTube. So Graham's coming in and says, I want to know, and this is a great question, Graham. That's why I got to pose it up here. I'm going to go to Albert first. Who is the one player you'd hate to see go to the one of the other AFC West teams in the draft? Who would you hate to see go to the Raiders? Who would you hate to see go to the Chargers? Who would you hate to see go to the Chiefs? Who's the one player you'd hate to see go to one of these AFC teams? Albert, it could be non-quarterback. Obviously, it could be any position, wide receiver, cornerback, running back, you name it. Who are you afraid of going on to one of these other teams?
Brock Bowers.
Ooh.
The Denver Broncos always have, the last 6-7 years, have problems with tight ends, and it hasn't improved. So if Brock Bowers would go to any of those, then guess what? I think we're going to be hurting a lot. And not just us, but all other teams as well, because to me, Brock Bowers is the pick for the Denver Broncos at number 12. I would even go up 1 or 2 places to get him. And yeah, Brock Bowers, I would hate to see Brock Bowers to go any other team than the Broncos.
Hey, and there sit the Chargers in front of us in this draft. They have the ability to pick up a Brock Bowers. If we decide not to go with a Brock Bowers, guess who's sitting right behind us in the number 13 pick, but our rivals right down there in Las Vegas, but the Raiders. So you're absolutely right. I like your thought process on this, because we already have to deal with Travis Kelce in our division. You're going to add in a Brock Bowers. That would be a pretty scary proposition. Trevor, who would you hate to see be added into this AFC West, regardless of the team?
I would say, again, I have different players for different teams, for all 3 different teams in our division. But Marvin Harrison Jr. to the Chargers would be scary to me. I don't like that with Herbert and him getting the ball. Herbert's never had truly a number 1 since Keenan Allen, and they don't have Keenan Allen anymore. So just Marvin Harrison Jr. with paired up with Herbert would be crazy. And then Adonai Mitchell for the Chiefs. That would be huge. I'm a big Mitchell fan. I think he's a heck of a wide receiver. The guy that doesn't drop passes at all, very lengthy. I think Mahomes would love him. I have nightmares about those 2 wide receivers being paired up with those 2 great quarterbacks in the division. Then Raiders, the thing would be with the Raiders would be if Denver trades back and the Raiders take a quarterback that you might be taking if you trade back, like a Bo Nix. If Denver's interested in Bo Nix, and the Raiders, maybe hide that they don't like Bo Nix, whatever, but they take him at 13, and Denver trades back from pick 12. Well, that's your guy. Well, then that would be concerned. So that would be the only guy, probably in my opinion, that would be concerned about from the Raiders standpoint.
Yeah, good points all the way across the board. It'd be nice to. I didn't think about it from an absolute all the way across the board. Every single team, I guess, is the best way to put it. So, I think that the one that would probably scare me is probably a Brian Thomas to the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Brian Thomas to the Chiefs, where he's slotted and what he's capable of doing, Brian Thomas could very well end up being a Chief. That's certainly a possibility. And adding back in, probably the best wide receiver talent that the Chiefs have seen since Tyreek Hill has lost would be scary to that mix as well. So that's our selections. Great question, Clayton. I appreciate it a ton. I like this one. We got it. J.J. McCarthy to the Raiders, Brock Bowers to the Chargers, Chiefs. I would say Ladd McConkey. That's all from Kenny Kirkpatrick over there. I was thinking about that too. J.J. McCarthy to the Raiders. That would be another one. Again, that would be a scary one, just because, again, if they turn out, if they work out, right?
I'm not worried about that. I ain't worried about
it. Oh, how about that? That's a. We'll be getting to that pick here in just a little bit, I'm sure. But I guess we kind of should continue on. I'll go back down to you, Trevor. I'm going to hit the number 3, the presumed number 3, what everyone's been talking at number 3, but also I guess a position in the draft that may be opening up at the same time as far as the 3rd overall pick with the Patriots. A lot of people have Jaden Daniels, LSU, kind of slotted there. What are your thoughts on Jaden Daniels?
Yeah, I like Jaden Daniels. I think he's a heck of an athlete. I think he's the best quarterback athlete in this class, and that's saying a lot because you know how great Caleb Williams and Drake May are as far as athlete wise. No, but with Jaden Daniels, I mean, he just has the arm, he has the speed to do whatever he needs to do. A lot of people compare him to Lamar Jackson. I think he's a little bit better passer than Lamar Jackson was at the time he got drafted. One thing that concerns me with Jaden Daniels is his ability not to know when to get down. If he's going to go to take off and run like that, he's got to know how to get down. His thin frame, to me, 6'4", 210. I would like him to be 6'4", probably like 220 or 215. Add a little bit more weight to his game without taking away his speed, of course, but add him a little bit more maybe muscle to his game and just know when to take hits, know when to not take hits. I think Josh Allen, I think Lamar Jackson done a pretty good job at getting down when they need to get, learn how to not take those big hits because they do eventually stack up and they will, knock you out of the games, and that's just something that you can't afford and your team can't afford. So Jaden Daniels, a very intriguing prospect. Again, this is a guy that's got different traits compared to Drake May, Caleb Williams. And another concern, I guess, for Jaden Daniels to me would be, well, where does he stack up? If he goes to like a place like New England, how would he stack up there? Because he did have 2 great wide receivers at LSU and Brian Thomas as well, and Malik Neighbors. So that's the thing is where I may be concerned with him, but honestly, I don't want to sit there and criticize him for that because it's not his fault that they put those wide receivers around him. But Jaden Daniels, very intriguing quarterback prospect and a guy that I think a team is going to fall in love with and going to be their next franchise quarterback.
Yeah, so I saw one podcaster say the wide receivers for the Patriots might be 3rd stringers on LSU. So yeah, I understand exactly where you're coming from there. It's a little bit tough to sometimes project those guys. It's the same reason we could talk about a Michael Penix too, and the wide receivers that he'll have entering into the draft as well. He had some pretty good ones that he'll be maybe doing without once he hits the NFL as well. But not skipping ahead, I want to get over to the Mile High Dutchie, get his thoughts on LSU product, Jaden Daniels. What are your thoughts there, buddy?
Yeah, you could see here another Jackson QB, Lamar Jackson QB. He likes to run. And from what I see, he has 69% passing completion. But guess what? Only 2,900 yards. That means it is a lot of short passes and not very much after that. So he probably will get drafted in the top 10. I don't think he is top 3 QB in this whole list. I think there are better ones than him. And here's another thing I would like to say about Patrick Mahomes. If the Broncos would have gotten Patrick Mahomes, would he have gotten the same results as what he got now with Andy Reid? I don't think so. Because you need to have the support, and the QBs here did not have any support.
100%. And that's what we're talking about for all these top prospects. I mean, let's face it, there's plenty of teams that have went, or plenty of quarterbacks that I think had much higher potential that end up on teams that don't have either the coaches or the talent around them or the offensive line or the receivers to throw to or a defense that can keep them in a game. There's a lot of different factors that comes into, quite honestly, a quarterback maybe being labeled a bust come in the very end. And that's rough. It's rough. It's a rough situation. It's why a lot of people think NIL money might even actually change where these guys end up going and when they go and how much they get paid. And, who knows what the future might hold when it comes to all that. That's a discussion for another day. But right now, these guys are not able to choose their destination. And in doing so, they end up in some terrible, terrible situations. I'm going to give you my thoughts. I think, quite honestly, Jaden Daniels could be the best quarterback in this entire draft. I think he gets. I think most people don't dig deep enough to see how great of a passer Jaden Daniels is. A lot of people look at highlights or top 3 games, and they'll see Jaden Daniels running all over the place and scrambling and racking up yards and looking like a freak athlete outside the pocket. But if you look at the entire tape and the way he's able to deliver, he is able to deliver. And he did it all over the field. Didn't matter if it was out routes, didn't matter if it was over the field, didn't matter if it was a screen pass, didn't matter if it was deep. He is one of the more complete passers, I think, in this. And then you kind of add in the intangible of the running quarterback. For me, I think he's one of the most interesting prospects in this draft. And it's kind of wild for a Heisman candidate, for a guy that was the talk of the town in a lot of different realms, gets very little talk today. Drake May, Caleb Williams, JJ McCarthy, you hear all these other names quite a bit. Jaden Daniels seems like he's just been under the radar and quiet. And I think he's a great prospect. We'll have to see what team he goes to and see if that ends up planning out in the NFL, as we kind of talked about with Albert. But yeah, absolutely. I love a Jaden Daniels, and the more I watch him, the more I like. I like you to do the same. That's what I would say for everybody. Get caught up on some of the comments. Patrick Wiltsey, man, I tell you what, enjoying my Lion coffee. Check out Lion Coffee, guys. Fantastic coffee. Keeps me hydrated, caffeinated, happy. I appreciate Lion Coffee. How about giving the Chargers our number 12 and a player for Herbert so JJ could stay with his coach? Now, this is an interesting thing because I wonder how much his coach is enamored or smoke screening the rest of the NFL when he starts talking about how much he loves JJ McCarthy. That's something I have to be worried about. Here those guys are. He would love for someone to pick JJ McCarthy in front of the Chargers so that a better player falls to the Chargers. But that being said, do you think this is my biggest concern. Is there any possibility we ever make a trade with the Chargers? That's the biggest question. Albert, do we make a trade with the Chargers ever?
I think I would like to see Justin Herbert with Sean Payton, because I think that is a quarterback that Sean Payton really likes.
Oh, I agree.
So, yeah, I would not be against it. If they could do that, I wouldn't be against it.
Man, a dangerous trading with your AFC West, rival right there in the division. Trevor, what do you think about Patrick Wilsey's proposal, I guess you could say?
We can only keep dreaming because I don't see it ever happening. I think the only way it would ever possibly happen, was if Denver way overpaid and it was an offer the Chargers could not refuse, but it's not happening. Again, Keith, I'm with you. I think that it might be a smokescreen that McCarthy's getting hyped up by his own coach in college. I mean, he's not going to throw him underneath the bus. Why would he do that? That was his quarterback. He just won a national championship with him. So it's just, he has a lot of more benefits to hyping them up and it being a smokescreen, because he gets a chance to trade back. And we've heard for a while now the Chargers do want to trade back. So if McCarthy ends up falling, I mean, the Chargers would be in perfect position for a team like Minnesota, say, to move up to pick 5 and take McCarthy in top 5. So, but as far as, Herbert being on the move, I don't see that happening. I think that's a big reason why Harbaugh ended up going to the Chargers in the first place. So I think McCarthy's going elsewhere. It will not be the Chargers.
It better be the reason he went to the Chargers, because they were in the worst cap space of any team. They got rid of all their wide receivers and their running backs around Herbert. I mean, he better be in love with Herbert because there's nobody else left. So I got to get to Michael Ronquillo's comment, and I think it spurs on the next piece of the conversation. Michael Ronquillo's coming in and saying the Washington Commanders might draft J.J. McCarthy. And this is where we're talking about all the craziness, all the smoke screens, and the wild draft that the Denver Bronco Roundup, Rocky Mountain Sports Network, and the K&K Sports Show are going to be covering come draft night. Albert, let's start off with you. Washington Commanders sit in the number 2 spot, and J.J. McCarthy could be drafted there. Let's talk about J.J. McCarthy. I don't know if we're going to be able to get to number 2 like where the Washington Commanders are at, but like I said, who knows? Like Sean Payton said, don't rule it out. What would we get with J.J. McCarthy if he was a Denver Bronco, Albert?
I think first and foremost, age. He's only 21 years old, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So that could be longevity. You might have a quarterback for the next 15, 20 years. Because that is what 21 does for you. And I think, in my opinion, I think J.J. McCarthy is, even although he's young, the most well-rounded of the quarterbacks. Even although he is young, he is poised, and he has poise, he has calmness, and he has great arm talent. He is accurate. I think, for me, J.J. McCarthy could be even go as number 1 or 2 in the draft, because that 21 years old, that makes a difference over 24, 25. Now you have him 3 or 4 years longer. And you can sit him for a year. Let him sit for a year and observe and get acclimatized. It doesn't hurt you, because you still, when he starts to play, he might be 22. And I think that's a big benefit.
Albert's all about J.J. McCarthy. I knew he kind of was. I know he has a kind of a soft spot in his heart for J.J. McCarthy. It'll be interesting to see. Like I said, we all have kind of our favorites, our specials, our specials. I don't know what that our favorite quarterbacks, the ones that we feel are special. That's what I'm trying to say. And 3 years down the road, we're all going to be able to look back at this podcast. We'll be able to look at the comments on the screen. We'll be looking at Albert and Trevor and myself and saying, where do we end up? But Jody is also another guy that happens to be on the Denver Bronco Roundup podcast from time to time. We hope to have him back soon. But Trevor, what are your thoughts on J.J. McCarthy?
Although I will say Jody's starting to fall into that Dak Prescott talk, I think, more than J.J. McCarthy, which is, hey, I mean, I'm on board with Dak over J.J. McCarthy. Not for a trade maybe, but free agency. No, I mean, guys, I know I sit here and say, like, oh, it sounds like, I'm really down on J.J. McCarthy. I'm not down on him. I think he's a potential first-round pick as far as, down the line, but I just don't think he's a top 10 pick. There's a difference for me. And we just list the names: Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels. Those guys, all three have different elite skill sets that I do not think J.J. McCarthy has. That's why I have J.J. McCarthy as, not in that elite tier, and that's why if a team drafts him in the top 4, I'm afraid that they may overdraft him for where he's at. When there's experts out there that are saying J.J. McCarthy, I think J.J. McCarthy is a second-round pick, that I'm concerned immediately by taking him top 10. I mean, that's immediately concern for me. And I'll just read off some of the stuff that I have concerned with when I'm watching him. I mean, he takes risks downfield, which is great, right? Struggles to put touch on the ball. He does do that. He doesn't put that arching touch on the ball. He just likes to sling it. Concern for me. Tends to build from clean pockets. Well, we just dealt with that with Russell Wilson. Is that something Sean Payton wants to deal with? And I just don't think that he fits what Sean Payton wants to do, and I just don't think that he should be a top 10 pick. First round pick, okay, different story, different conversation, but I don't think JJ McCarthy's elite, elite quarterback prospect in my opinion. I think he's getting hyped, but I do think a team would fall in love with him based on his upside, and not just his. I mean, just what he's done at Michigan. I also don't know where his floor's at. I think he's got high upside in the draft, but I think he's got a really low floor if he doesn't pan out. So he's one of those mystery prospects in this class as far as in this quarterback class overall wise. So I'm not high on JJ McCarthy. I'll say that, and I would not like to pick for if I'm the Denver Broncos. I don't think I would take JJ McCarthy top 10 first round. Different story, but yeah, I mean, no for me on JJ.
Excuse me. It'll be an interesting night if JJ McCarthy gets selected by the Denver Broncos. We'll have people celebrating on the DBR podcast, and there'll be those that'll be questioning the move if they'll be taking him at number 12 or higher. That's obvious in what we just got done saying. Go ahead, sir.
No, I was going to say, I got a question for both of you here, because we heard a little bit of rumors today about the Cardinals wanting 3 first-round picks for pick 4. So would you guys trade 3 first-round picks for JJ McCarthy?
Well, let me get into it. I'll talk about JJ McCarthy real quick, and I'll tell you if I trade the first round, the draft picks, and then I'll turn it over to Albert and see if he agrees or not. JJ McCarthy for me is, I think you said it great, probably the biggest mystery, I think, also in the NFL draft. Young, very few starts underneath his belt, wasn't relied upon all that much within the structure of the Michigan offense to throw and be that guy that shouldered the load, I guess you could say. That was Blake Corum, and that running game that they had and that offensive line that sat in front of him was phenomenal. And when he was called upon, don't get me wrong, he had some key moments and he was able to pull it out. But it's a very, very, very small sample size. And it's a lot of projection from that small sample size. If you want to go on the opposite side of things, like another guy that might end up coming up in conversation might be a Bo Nix, who's on the opposite side of a JJ McCarthy. You probably have as much tape as you could possibly. Well, you can't get through all the tape of a Bo Nix if you want to get through all the prospects. That's how much tape Bo Nix has. So JJ McCarthy for me is the biggest question mark. Like you said, maybe highest ceiling, lowest floor, all in the same athlete, in my opinion, just because it's unknown. The one thing I will say is JJ McCarthy, when I just got done talking about at the very top of the show, Caleb Williams, who, again, I'm a little bit worried about jumping into a Sean Payton type of coach, system, and the way that Sean Payton likes to go about coaching. JJ McCarthy would do very well in this system in that regard. I think that he's already lived through a Harbaugh. I think he would do very well with a Payton. So that would be a good matchup as far as coach and quarterback. But it's a lot of projection. It's a lot of, where do you think this guy possibly could be? Because, again, just not a whole lot of tape. I love that he's been a winner. I love that he's been a winner on multiple levels, and you got to have that moxie, but that doesn't always prove out in the NFL at the NFL level. Also, just because of the system that they ran, he didn't have to deal with what is a true NFL defense all that much. He didn't see a lot of too high safeties that he was throwing against. So another little concern if you're really digging into the details. I'm going to hit draft picks here in just a second to get up to 4th, but I almost forgot. And how could I forget about something so amazing as Morgan Trinkets, guys? Morgan Trinkets is our amazing sponsor, and they are your headquarters for Southwest Jewelry and Southwest Pottery, as well as Estate Gold at wholesale prices. Over 33 years experience, started in 1990. Now just focusing on Southern Wyoming, Northern Colorado. They were once a nationwide company, and guys, they do it right. They have sterling silver, all their silver is sterling silver, starting at $10, going all the way up to $2,000. All their gold, 10, 14, 18 karat gold. All their shipping free if you spend $50 or more. The way you do it, check out Morgan Trinkets at Facebook. That's Morgan Trinkets on Facebook. They transact all through PayPal. Really easy, really simple. And guys, if you catch them at the shows, you can use your credit cards. They take those transactions as well. So Morgan Trinkets, don't forget Morgan Trinkets. Doesn't matter. Holidays, birthdays, special occasions, they've got you covered. Morgan Trinkets, search them today. What more can I say? I tell you what, I'd trade a lot of first-round draft picks for Morgan Trinkets. They're amazing, guys. But yeah, let's get to that. You were talking 3 first-round picks to get up to number 4 in Arizona. I said at the very top, Trevor, I'll make this short and I'll pass it over to Albert because I've been talking for a minute here. But for me, if it's the guy, you don't wait for opportunity, you go and you seize it. And one of those picks, in my opinion, has to be a Patrick Surtain so that you don't give it all up. You're gonna get one of those 3 picks is substituted by a Pat Surtain, in my opinion. And maybe you can even downgrade because you're getting a little extra out of Pat Surtain than just 1 first-round pick. Albert, what is your thoughts? Would you give up 3 first-round picks to get up to number 4 and get your quarterback?
I would not give up any picks for trading up for a quarterback. I would sit where I'm at. If Brock Bowers is available at 12, then get Brock Bowers. If not, then trade down. Get some extra draft picks because this year, what they should do, and this is just my opinion, and I'm just an how do you call it, coach. What they need to do is get key players. We have too many holes in our entire system. Get key players. Let them get used to the system of Sean Payton. And guess what? There are good quarterbacks coming up next year. If you end up in the bottom 5, well, you have a decent position for drafting a good quarterback next year. And guess what? That quarterback will now have an easy life because your players already used to the system. And you can integrate really, really easy as a quarterback then.
Well, Pearl agreed to be our sponsor, but she doesn't agree with me giving up 3 first-round picks. She says, right on, Albert, no 3 first-round picks. So, and Michael Ronquillo coming in agreement. Broncos gave up too many first-round picks for Russell Wilson, and then again it was Sean Payton. So he's all out. I'm standing here alone, but I know my trusty sidekick here, Trevor's got my back, right? We're going to give up the farm. We're going to go up to number 4, right, buddy?
For JJ McCarthy, absolutely not. And there's a reason. See that I don't mind them giving up picks if that's their guy, and if McCarthy's their guy, we're gonna have to roll with it. But another reason I wouldn't do that is because I don't think there's that big of a gap between JJ McCarthy and Bo Nix for me to move up that much to get JJ McCarthy. That's just my opinion. Yeah, for Daniel Drake, man, I think there is a gap. With those elite quarterback prospects, and then there's Bo Nix right underneath them. I think there's a gap there, so you can make that argument. With JJ McCarthy, I don't think there's that big of a gap. So why would you need to trade up if there's not much big of a gap? Give up more draft capital, premium draft capital. That would hurt your quarterback on the line because you can't put a team around him without your first round picks and have young, controllable players like you do need. So that's another reason why I am not overly hyped about trading up for JJ McCarthy in particular, and just in general. But McCarthy, I'm definitely out on.
All right, man. Well, there you have it. I stand alone. Here I am, all by myself. All by myself. Oh, sorry, guys. Took a little musical moment there. I'm going to pose this a little bit different, Albert. I look at really there's only a few places that I think that we could possibly trade up to. We just talked about Arizona and Arizona wanting, 3 first-round picks in order to get up to number 4 in the draft. You weren't too happy about that. Didn't sound like Trevor was all on board with that, but other spots that are a possibility. Moving down from there, the Chargers, again, I don't think the Chargers are trading with us, and I don't think the Broncos would want to trade with the Chargers. That they sit at number 5. The Giants have been very, very, very quiet. I've heard nothing as far as the Giants wanting to trade out of their pick. Makes me feel like they're pretty happy where they're at. And that being said, I'm going to go ahead and rule them out, and that's right up there with the Tennessee Titans. I think the Tennessee Titans are holding out for Joe Alt at number 7, and if that be the case, they're going to be very, very happy. So they're going to sit there and they're going to wait, I think, also at number 7. But this is where it starts to get interesting. Atlanta Falcons at number 8, and the Chicago Bears at number 9. I think those are our 2 opportunities that we might have after 4 to trade up. The Jets at 10, I think they need a player, and I think they'd stay there. And of course, the Vikings just traded to get that a number 11 pick, being one spot in front of the Broncos. So 8 and 9 are the next two opportunities I really, really see. Could you trade up to the number 8 pick or the number 9 pick to select your quarterback? And if so, who would be your quarterback if you did? Albert, would you contemplate the idea of moving up from 12 to 8 or 9? Make it a lot more palatable. Probably wouldn't have to give up nearly as much. What are your thoughts if the right quarterback is sitting there, and who is that quarterback?
If Sean Payton really wants a quarterback and he can go up pretty decently for 8 or 9, then why not? If it is the quarterback you want, then why not? But again, I'm not Sean Payton.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't do it. I would not. I would not draft.
You wouldn't do it. Okay.
Nope. I would not draft a quarterback this year. We have holes to fill, and if those holes are not filled up, what does a quarterback do you? Nothing. We have seen it over and over.
Fair enough. Michael Ronquillo saying, yeah, I would do it if Drake May fell to that spot. And hey, we've been talking about slides and who knows where these guys are going to go. There was the big Drake May kind of smear campaign going on, trying to get him to fall down a little bit. You never know where these guys are going to go. So for Michael Ronquillo, also got my sister coming in. Thanks, Liana. Says, I have your back. You need to build with your QB. So, Trevor, 8 or 9 spot, the right quarterback is sitting there. Would you trade up? Could you?
Keyword right quarterback, and I have to still be in love with him. So yeah, I mean, yeah, like again, if Drake May fell, yeah, I would definitely be making the call. I would be interested to see if he slips past the Giants, though. I could also see the Giants possibly even taking a quarterback at 6 if the right one fell to them. So just based on evaluation, yeah, I mean, I think that 8-9 is definitely a possibility. Depends on also what it takes to get up there. There's always more of a premium when you're trading up for a quarterback. So if you're giving up this year's first and maybe next year's second and maybe a third, if you can avoid giving up your first just because where the roster's at, I would like to do that. But yeah, for the right price, I would definitely and then for the right quarterback, yeah. But JJ McCarthy, probably not. I don't know that Jane Daniels is gonna. I mean, I don't know if he's gonna fall that much either. And I don't.
Yeah.
I'll be. In particular, I don't think this is likely going to happen anyways. I think these quarterbacks will be off the board well before Denver even gets a chance to sniff around them. Yeah, Drake May.
Yeah, I agree.
If Drake May or Jane Daniels falls, yes, but McCarthy, no.
Drake May, Jaden Daniels, those are your two guys. Hey, we're getting this very soon. Very similar. Kenny's coming in here at K&K Sports Show, says, yes, I make that trade immediately. But for me, it's Drake May and Drake May only. Again, a guy that's rated at number 2. Pearl saying, yes, do it, but you got to get John Macha in the lower rounds. So there you go. So that little bit of what's that? A little tag on that you have to. I forget. I'm forgetting the name of what I'm trying to bring to the show, but that's okay. I want to bring Kurt Valente on. It's like I've been waiting for this guy to jump on our podcast because he's my supporter. He's saying, "What's up, boys? Arizona wants 3 number 1s? Question mark. If it's Peyton's guy, I'm doing that in a second. When you get your franchise guy, no amount of picks are not worth it. Go get him, Peyton." And this is what I'm telling you guys, man. I'm coming around to Mr. Kurt Valente's thought process and the fact that you cannot wait for opportunity to fall into your lap. Sean Payton tried to wait for opportunity to fall in his lap in New Orleans, and that could have been Mr. Patrick Mahomes taking over for Drew Brees and probably Sean Payton remaining a Saints head coach for many, many years, if that be the case. He waited, and guess what? He was one pick away. The Chiefs traded up, got right in front of him, got Patrick Mahomes. The rest is history. Wouldn't it be nice to have Patrick Mahomes in the NFC South? I digress. That being said, I think you guys need to, if we're there and we have that ability and it's 3 number 1s, if it's Patrick Surtain and it's your guy, go get your guy, guys. Go get your guy. At some point, the Denver Broncos have got to do it. I don't want to see him go the Joe Flacco, Teddy Bridgewater, Mark Sanchez route ever again. Go get your quarterback. If he's there, it's time. Go get him. Don't wait for opportunity, seize it. That's my final thought on that. So again, I knew I'd get Kenny or Kurt all fired up. Exactly. You wait, you get left at the altar. Romance 102. Don't wait, get it done. So there you have it. Guys, we have a few more minutes. We want to wrap up the show here, but I know that we've only gotten through a few names, so I want to leave the door open a little bit. Trevor, I'll start with you. I'll go over to Albert. What other names do you want to bring to the table that we haven't talked about yet? There's a lot of names right there near the top. There's about 8 names that can be shoved right there up in the top 12 almost. But what names do you have left?
Yeah, I think Bo Nix definitely one that we need to talk about. This is a guy that I think he's likely to be there at 12 if Denver wants to take him at 12. Problem is with me with Bo Nix is I don't know where exactly his ceiling's at, like how high his ceiling is. I think he has a high floor. I think he can start in the NFL next year right away. I really love what he does underneath routes wise. I think he's reads the field well. I think he can throw a deep ball. I don't think he has an elite arm by any means, but I do think he has an average to above average arm at times. Drew Brees didn't have the greatest arm in the world. I'm not comparing Bo Nix to Drew Brees, guys. I'm not doing that at all. I'm just saying Bo Nix, I think he would fit in Sean Payton's system just fine. I don't know where his ceiling's at as far as is your franchise quarterback. Are you in love with Bo Nix or do you just like Bo Nix? There's a difference between all these quarterbacks, but Bo Nix is definitely a guy that sticks out to me. For me, I mean, if he's your franchise guy, take him at 12. But if not, if you just like Bo Nix, trade back and maybe get him in late first round, maybe get him in the early second round. But Bo Nix is a guy that we definitely need to be keeping our eyes on because I think if Denver doesn't trade up, he's your guy. Michael Penix as well, and then Spencer Rattler, Michael Penix, lefty quarterback. I think he's got a great accuracy, I think he's a guy next year that can start in the NFL right away as well. I think just what he does at the line of scrimmage, there's not a lot of these quarterbacks that have had to do that. I think he is just very accurate with the football. He just knows he has that touch. We talked about that touch with McCarthy. McCarthy doesn't have that touch yet. I think a guy like Michael Penix definitely has it. And I think he's just very, very smart and just has, I think, a deep love of the game. We've seen that in the national championship game when he was continuously getting hit onto the ground. His offensive line was giving up blocks, and he kept getting up and kept playing through it. I think that's a toughness to him. I don't think the injury concern is too much of a concern for me not to take him.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a very strong guy, and I think that he shows that he has heart for this game. Spencer Rattler, I know, is a guy for you, Keith, that you really love. I like Spencer Rattler as well. Just depends on when you take him. I think round 3 is where I would take him possibly. Round 2, I think, is a little rich for me, but Spencer Rattler is interesting. Quarterback prospect. He was obviously highly graded out before getting into college. And it kind of let down a little bit, but I think he's a guy that has a ton of upside. Probably going to have to sit a year, but I would at least be encouraged to take a chance on him if you didn't get a quarterback in round 1 or in early round 2.
Like it, buddy. That was, whether it's Nix, Penix, Rattler, man, nice little rattle off there. That was a good elevator pitch for 3 guys in a short amount of time, man, and some good information. I'm going to hit the chat just really quick. Hit Scoops coming in. Scoops, if you guys don't know, Scoops Woodhams has a fantastic show right here on the Rocky Mountain Sports Network. Settle the Scores. Check him out Friday, 8:30 Mountain Standard Time. But he's coming in here and talking a little bit of football. Says you have to go get your guy. There's no price off the table. If you think there's a guy who is the difference between you and the Super Bowl. That said, I've been touting the Denver Knicks 12 fit. So just a guy that we were just talking about, like you were saying, if he's your guy, take him at 12. If not, trade back. If you like him, Knicks is going to be sitting there. Knicks, Penix, Rattler. Those are a few names, Albert, that we just got thrown in front of us. You want to talk about any of those or any others?
I would like to address Pearl QB. She is talking about Samford Michael Hears.
Yes.
He looks like a project QB that needs to sit maybe for a while behind a decent quarterback and learn the stints of to be a quarterback in the NFL. He is predicted to be a free agent signing or undrafted signing after the draft, so he is not even. But yeah, just in case for Jody likes to talk about Spencer Rattler. I think that might be a quarterback I would pick up in round 3 after I have filled up some other holes that needs to be filled first. And picking a quarterback in round 1, I think it would not be a smart decision for the Broncos.
Mm.
Just wait, get some key players. We need a wide receiver. We need a well-rounded tight end. We need an elite pass rusher. We have some other gaps that need to be addressed first, and I think that is my priority.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I understand. I appreciate you addressing the question. And, there's a million different ways we're going to go. We're all going to find out on draft night exactly which way the Broncos go. We could be sitting there at 12. We could be taking one of the best players at a position at number 12. I mean, defensive players are not going to be coming off the board. We could have the top tight end sitting there. We could have a cornerback sitting there. I mean, there is literally going to be some fantastic players sitting there. We could trade up. We could be going after that quarterback like I've been talking about, like Scoops has been talking about, like Kurt Valente has been talking about, going up there, getting our guy. We could be trading back. We could be doing what maybe a more of a George Payton than a Sean Payton type of thing, and maybe actually getting some picks and getting, a multiple players that are top 50, top 100 picks in the NFL draft this year or next year by trading back and, beefing up this roster and making sure that we have a roster that's prepared for a great quarterback to come in and be successful. A lot of different ways you can end up building it, and it's going to be a ton of fun. I did see, and I wanted to talk about this as well, because this was the second time Pearl had asked about Samford quarterback. He is surprising to me because the amount of visits he's getting across the NFL is immense. And typically those top 30 visits are going to be held back and treasured and, just not wasted, I guess is the best way to put it. And so this guy must have a little bit more something. I know, Pearl, you're a big guy on like a John Macha out of the Colorado School of Mines. And I think that Samford quarterback, Samford quarterback, Michael Ayers, is kind of in that same mold. I would like to see these guys. I think the UFL is going to be a fantastic, fantastic league for these guys to go and develop. I'd rather him go into the UFL than get drafted or selected as an undrafted free agent and be a third string quarterback, a practice squad guy that gets buried on an NFL roster. I'd like to see these guys maybe have that opportunity to go into the UFL. I know he's been getting a lot of visits as of lately, and maybe he does end up being one of those third round guys, but I'd like to see these guys maybe get more proved out. I think we'll see that. It's not just, I think, the NFL rule proving ground. I think we'll see some players use the UFL as a proving ground and get selected, kind of like we used to see for those old enough NFL Europe, which I absolutely loved back in the day. So, last kind of thoughts on quarterbacks on me. Yes, I do like Spencer Rattler. Any guy that loses his job to Caleb Williams, any guy that was selected when he first came out his freshman year and everyone was talking about him being the number 1, number 2 pick in the draft type of possibility. He went to South Carolina and he got buried behind a bad O-line and wasn't given a whole lot of opportunity down in South Carolina, but he made the most of it, including trying to maybe even rebrand himself from what he was known for in his high school days. So a guy like that has fought through a ton of adversity, for me, is a guy that I think is worthy of taking a good look at. Bo Nix is a guy that similarly, heck, he went down to Auburn, was trying to follow in his father's footsteps. That did not work out. That could have very well been the end of Bo Nix. Goes off to Oregon, ends up being one of the most impressive players in college football, puts together a fantastic career, 61 starts, tons of tape. Bo Nix is a guy that, I think definitely should get some consideration as well. These are all guys that, I think it is like that 83 class where we're going to see a ton of talent. It's going to be interesting, though, where it gets selected and where we see that talent actually level up and prove out in the NFL. Some of these guys are going to fall to great teams and have the opportunity to have great surroundings. Penix for me is kind of like that Jaden Daniels. the guy that doesn't get talked about, but it really has all the pieces and parts to be a great NFL quarterback. He has the arm. He has obviously speed because he ran at his pro day and put down a 4.5. We'll call it. Some people said a 4.4. Some people said a 4.6. We'll call it a 4.5. So he has great straight line speed. His injuries seem to be a non-concern. Did well, and like I said, in that 40, he participated in the long jump, the high jump. Did very well. So there is a ton of quarterbacks, guys. I appreciate everyone coming in here and being a part of the conversation. Like I said, I don't think we've had this opportunity to really sit here, talk about quarterbacks, really kind of evaluate all these different prospects. And guys, we only really talked about maybe the top 6 to 8 quarterbacks. There's a lot more out there. We'll see them go throughout the draft, and we'll see some day 2, some day 3 type of situations. But I think, again, it's going to be a fun night. It's going to be a great night. It's going to be Rocky Mountain Sports Network. It's going to be the K&K Sports Show, the Denver Bronco Roundup, all coming together and putting together a fantastic draft show. And quarterbacks will just be one piece of that, guys. So get to a few more comments. Kenny's passing on Bo Nix at 12. He's not in it. He came in with a longer one. He says, I would not take Nix at 12. The reason is he isn't projected in the top 5 like other QBs. He's more of a late second round pick for me. And to pick him up at 12 on a team that needs a ton, not for me. So he's not in love with Bo Nix. He's probably putting him about the same place that I put a Spencer Rattler. Late round, second round pick. And you never know, guys. It's a big smoke show out there. There's a lot of smoke signals being thrown. Maybe this is the very top of one of the top drafts as far as quarterbacks are concerned. Maybe it's not, but we're going to find out. Let's get some final thoughts as we go around, man. Trevor, I think I've kept you off the mic for a little bit. I can't remember who I went to last. So Trevor, give me some final thoughts. I'll go to Albert next.
Yeah, I wanted to address Kenny's comment on Joe Milton as well. We didn't.
Feel free.
Talk about 6'5", 235. I would take a chance on Joe Milton in the 5th round if I was Denver. Probably not any higher. I just think his accuracy is a big problem with him, and you need to be able to hit on your throws. I think he has a big arm, but again, you can't always fall in love with a big arm quarterback. So Joe Milton for me is very intriguing. Probably a round 5 guy. Michael Pratt's in that as well. If Denver has 3 5th round picks. If you don't have a quarterback by then, or maybe you double, maybe you take, maybe double up on quarterback, take Bo Nix in the 1st round, and then maybe you double up and take a Joe Milton or a Michael Pratt in the 5th round. That's definitely a possibility. But that's where I would probably take a chance on there with a guy like Joe Milton. It's just, again, accuracy is a big problem with him. He's going to need some time to definitely develop. So you're not playing him year 1. I don't see him being the only guy that Denver would take there, just because I think he is a bit of a project. But definitely a guy that's worth keeping an eye on. But my final thoughts overall, guys, thanks for all the questions. We will probably down the line, especially on draft night, probably be able to get a little bit more analysis on these quarterbacks in general. Great questions, though, coming in, and we really appreciate it. And can't wait for that amazing draft show. 3 days in a row for us. That'd be great for all of us to be into that. And gonna need plenty of coffee, and gonna need to keep the mouth going and eat a little bit more. But just want to thank everybody tonight for being on the show. Really love what you guys, continue to bring on great comments, continue to be such a great Roundup royalty. So thanks for everything, guys. And, can't wait to see you guys on Friday. And we'll break more great Broncos news and notes and have it here for you on Denver Bronco Roundup. So thank you guys for everything. Appreciate the starts, Clayton. Appreciate the support, guys. And we'll see you here on Friday. Have a great week. Go Broncos.
Love it. Thank you, Trevor, man. I want to get to 1 or 2 more comments that are coming in late, and then I'll head over to Albert. Pearl, what's your thoughts on my thought? Will some of these quarterbacks refuse to play for the team that drafts them and demand a trade like Elway? I think that's the path that we're probably going to go down as these quarterbacks. Just as an example, Caleb Williams reportedly was around $4 million in NIL money last year. That's a lot of money already that these guys are dealing with. And they don't need the NFL, and they don't need that number 1 pick going to that team necessarily. They can push back and I think that's something that we'll see. Whether it happens this year, I don't think so. There was a little bit of talk about Caleb Williams early on, but that seems like that's all but settled down, him not wanting to go to Chicago. Also got to give a shout out to D-Rock coming in here on YouTube, said, instead of settling for a quarterback at 12, I'm in the camp of falling back and getting more darts for the board. AKA, we need Luke McCaffrey. Well, D-Rock, I'm a big Luke McCaffrey fan. If you watched all our podcasts, you could probably go back and see how I was talking about him and staying on that lineage train. I like a Luke McCaffrey. I was on that early. I like the idea of trading back. The big thing that I always talk about, there's got to be someone who's in love with somebody and someone that you're willing to pass on. That's a tricky situation. I don't want this guy, but these guys do. In the place where the Denver Broncos are in need of so many different positions and depth as far as talent, I have a hard time finding a position at number 12 where we're passing and we want to trade back in order to get more picks, because I think we could probably use the player or two that are sitting there right in front of us. Albert, I'm going to have you maybe even talk about this one too, and maybe everybody could, because our good friend and co-host will be co-host again here shortly. We are expecting him. He's trying to make his way back, Mr. Jody Moncrief, but he says thoughts on Pratt. Albert, do you have any thoughts on one Michael Pratt?
No, not really. Because like I said, I would not draft a quarterback in the first round, and maybe not even in the second round. The third round would be an option, because we have bigger needs than just a quarterback. And if Pratt is there in the third round, yeah, then why not?
Yeah.
If Penix is there, why not? If Bo Nix is there, why not? But in the first two rounds, I think we can do better than drafting a quarterback. We need other people that in more different positions that I think we can get you better use of.
Very good. I'll get Trevor's quick thoughts on Pratt, and then I want final thoughts from you, Albert.
Yeah, so on Pratt, I mean, again, I don't think he's got a ton of upside. I think he's a fine quarterback prospect, but nothing jumps off the page to me about a guy like Pratt. I mean, with Joe Milton, you can kind of analyze the difference between them. Why I like Milton more. He has the big arm. Pratt doesn't really have the big arm, in my opinion. I think he's gonna be a fine backup, but I don't think. I just don't think that I would take a chance on him too high. Get 5th round pick, okay, because Denver has 3 5th round picks, whatever.
Yeah.
Then I think I would maybe decide, and maybe you could take a chance on him. Denver also has brought him in for quite a few visits, so maybe they do see something in him as well. That's something to keep an eye on if they don't take a quarterback early. But Pratt, for me, the upside I think it's very limited, and that's why you're seeing him drop down boards. Because again, a lot of time, guys, in the draft, teams are going for upside as well. I mean, they don't always see the floor. And I think Pratt has a decent floor. I think he can make a career in the NFL as an NFL backup. I just don't know if he can be that starting quarterback, that star starting quarterback that everybody wants. That's why teams don't have him probably as high because of his upside. That's why you see like Caleb Williams, all these guys have the upside, and that's why you're seeing them top of the draft. Not only what they're doing in college, but what they could do in the pros. So Pratt, to me, just decent floor, not too high of a floor. Probably a backup quarterback in the NFL, in my opinion. Would take a chance on him, but not too high on Pratt.
Very good. Before I get to Albert, I heard one great quote today from Kurt Warner, actually, and he said, "No matter what any of these quarterbacks, if all they are is what they are in college, they will fail in the NFL. These guys have to continue to get better. These guys are not pre-made already NFL quarterbacks day one walking in. They will have to all continue to get better and improve in order to be that elite prospect in the quarterback, elite prospect in the NFL, if at all." So, Albert, let's get to some final thoughts, man. I've been putting you off long enough, buddy. What are you thinking?
So yeah, final thoughts for me. My perspective. I would not draft a quarterback in the first 2 rounds, maybe not even in the third round, unless there is somebody that you really like and we have bigger holes to fill. I'm very thankful for all the people who participated in the chat and in the show. it's always such a pleasure to see you there and to be active and talkative about the subjects. And some of those questions were really good. And I challenge anyone in the posse, if you come up to a question during the week, you can DM me or text me, and I will relate that to the team, and then we will address it in one of the shows. So if you have a question, don't hesitate to DM me. Uh, Contact me through Facebook. It's just fine. Um, and I also have a meme or a quote. My mind says I'm 21 years old. My heart says your brain is an idiot.
Very good, Albert. Very good. Albert's bringing the knowledge. We have some Nopper knowledge from time to time. That's a little bit different type of knowledge than we're used to him giving us. Appreciate it, man. Unfortunately, as D-Rock is pointing out, did you have anything else, buddy?
Yeah, I want to thank Clayton, Michael, Pearl, Michelle, Patrick, Jay, Kenny, Graham, Big Sis, Jody, Victor, Kurt, Scoops, and D-Rock for participating in the chat. You guys make our lives so much easier. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Not only easier, but just an absolute pleasure, guys, man. It's awesome coming on here talking Denver Broncos football. I like talking with Albert. I like talking with Trevor, and I like the Denver Broncos in general. But, man, you guys bring it. The posse is amazing. We appreciate you guys so dang much. Final comments kind of getting in. Again, D-Rock, I was throwing this up on the board. Byron Murphy is having some off-field issues. Come on to the Mile High City.
Keith, I think that's I think he's meaning Travondre Sweat. That
I think
was
so
the guy
too.
With DUI charges. So I wanted to address that, kind of correct that. Travondre Sweat, excuse me, was a guy that got arrested for DUI charges. He has 2 visits with 2 teams, so we'll see. Maybe he's a guy that drops to Denver. Maybe his draft stock kind of drops a little bit more because that was a concern with him going into the draft. So definitely a guy to keep an eye on. A player I really like, and with the right locker room. Like a guy like Von Miller kind of reminds me of a little bit. Doing the guy with the right locker room, with the leadership that Denver has, possibly could be a guy that they turn around and it can turn into a great player on that defensive line that Denver desperately needs.
Yeah, thanks for the correction. I thought that was the case. I'm glad that we did get that a little bit corrected. I hate to throw Byron Murphy underneath the bus right before the draft. You know, I know that all the NFL scouts are out here listening to us and figuring their draft boards after what we say. So don't want to put any misinformation out there. But yeah, unfortunately, it is the time of year where, you know, it does happen. There's 4 months that these guys really need to keep themselves in check. But like I said, hey, look at a guy like Caleb Williams. You got 4 months off and $4 million in your pocket, and you're 21 years old. That's a little bit of rough situation to be in, if you can imagine back to when you were that young and put yourself in that particular situation. So, gentlemen, I appreciate you. Albert, thank you so much, man. Great knowledge tonight, man. As always, the only Mile High Dutchie coming in here every single Tuesday night, bringing the knowledge and bringing smiles to all of our faces, man. Probably the most optimistic guy out there, man. I appreciate you, Albert. Mr. Trevor Salzman, co-host not only on Tuesdays and Fridays. Heck, sometimes you might even see him on Settle the Score. That's another fantastic Rockies podcast over here on the Rocky Mountain Sports Network. Check that out, Fridays, 8:30 p.m. Trevor, man, appreciate you, man. Always knowledgeable, always having all the details, the deep dives into all these prospects, and makes my job a lot easier, makes me look super smart and super intelligent as I just kind of guide the conversation around between these two great guys. So, guys, I said we'd talk about it maybe at the very end, or at some point in this show. For those of you who don't know, I am the proud owner of the Rocky Mountain Sports Network. That being said, if any of you guys have noticed, we've had some Facebook issues with Rocky Mountain Sports Network as of lately. So please search out Rocky Mountain Sports Network. We had 2 pages. Now we have 1. Make sure that you're liking, sharing, and subscribing to that. It's about half the viewers that we once had on our Rocky Mountain Sports Network, and we'd love to gain all those guys back. So that means we need your help. We need you to like, share, subscribe, and would appreciate that a ton. Boy, guys, what else can I say? Our fantastic sponsor, who's been hanging out with us for a few months now, Morgan Trinkets. Guys, go out there and support those guys. Morgan Trinkets, I'm telling you, beautiful Southwest jewelry. They also do pottery. They have that estate gold. It's at wholesale prices. There is so many reasons to go to Morgan Trinkets on Facebook today. That's Morgan Trinkets. They're not only a fantastic sponsor, but they have beautiful, beautiful, beautiful pieces. Check out Morgan Trinkets for me today. Guys, we're on X. We're on YouTube. We're on Facebook. We'll be linking up on Apple Podcasts and Spotify soon. But guys, if you like, share, subscribe, we appreciate it a ton. And guys, yeah, we'll be plugging the shows, but we'll be plugging the K&K Sports Show because like you said, we're putting together a fantastic draft show as well, guys. It's going to be live. We're going to have live picks. We're going to have a guy there at the draft that's actually going to be able to show you those picks coming to the podium, those players being selected. Who knows? We might see our future quarterback right there on the stage and right there in front of our eyes. Thank you guys, the K&K Sports Show. Appreciate you guys so very much. You guys are amazing. Thanks for teaming up with us. That's all I got, guys. That's all I have for tonight. I think that's all I have. I'm like going through my checklist in my head, but guys, appreciate you guys so much. Another fantastic show. Again, check us out on Fridays. Hit that notification bell. Friday, 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We'll be back right with you guys. You guys are amazing. Thank you guys so much. We'll end it like we always do. Make sure you keep your feet in your stirrups. Make sure you keep your guns in your holsters. And make sure you keep the Broncos in your heart. Until next time, guys, we're out. Have a good night. Mile high.